The journey begins not with walls around us, but with the sight of them from afar. Imagine yourself walking along a quiet track, the fields rolling outward, the hedgerows bending low, when suddenly, through a veil of mist or the brightness of morning sun, a shape rises above the land. First, it is only a suggestion, a darker outline against the sky. Then, as your steps draw nearer, you see towers climbing upward, battlements notched like teeth along the horizon, and a high roof lifting itself above the trees. The castle stands, solemn and immovable, a presence of stone in a world otherwise soft with earth and wood. To approach a castle is to feel both awe and caution. Its walls are not like the cottages of a village, nor even the timber halls of a manor. They are thick, grey, and stern, built to withstand not just weather, but also war. Yet even from the distance, life clings to them. Smoke curls from chimneys, banners lift and flutter in the wind, and the faint sound of bells or horns drifts across the fields. This is no empty shell of stone, but a living place filled with voices, footsteps, laughter, and work. Spring. The air is damp and green, the soil soft beneath your boots. Lambs bleat in the meadow, their white fleeces bright against the new grass. Orchards bloom with frothy white petals that scatter like snow with each gust of wind. The castle rises steady against this freshness, its stones dark with the season's rains. The moat is high with spring floods, ducks gliding across its surface, reeds bending in the breeze. As you walk closer, the scent of wet earth mixes with wood smoke and the sharper tang of fresh lime, mortar. For the masons are at work, repairing a wall damaged by winter storms. Children run ahead, their laughter ringing, tossing petals against the wind before being called back by mothers, carrying baskets heavy with greens for the castle kitchens. Summer. The sun beats down hot upon your shoulders, and the dust of the lane clings to your sandals. Every step stirs golden motes into the air. The castle walls shimmer in the heat, their stones pale and almost glowing. Above banners hang still for lack of breeze, their colors bright against the sky. The moat smells of warm water and growing things, dragonflies darting like sparks over the lily pads. The sound of smiths carries across the air, hammers striking rhythmically upon anvils as weapons and horseshoes are shaped. A merchant caravan approaches alongside you, their mules burdened with cloth and wine, and you hear them mutter with relief at the sight of the towers. For within the walls lies cool shade, shelter, and the promise of trade. Autumn. The hedgerows blaze red and gold, and the fields are stubble with the remnants of harvest. Carts creak beneath their weight of apples and grain, rolling steadily toward the castle stores. Smoke drifts in thick ribbons from the kitchens, carrying the rich scent of roasting meats and spiced pies. For harvest feasts are near. The moat reflects the colors of the trees, its surface broken by geese calling harshly as they glide. As you draw closer, you see servants carrying baskets of nuts, herbs, and onions. Their cloaks patched, but their steps brisk, for within the walls all must be prepared for winter. The castle seems both stern and generous in autumn, stern in its looming stones, generous in the plenty flowing toward it. Winter, the air bites sharp, and your breath clouds before you. Frost lies upon the bare branches, and the fields stretch white with snow. The road is hard beneath your boots, each step ringing faintly. The moat is edged with ice, the reeds brittle and rattling. The towers rise stark against a pale sky, banners stiff in the wind. As you approach, you hear the crack of axes splitting wood, the creak of sledges bearing loads of fuel for the great hearths within. A woman hurries past, her cloak drawn tight, a bundle of rushes under her arm to freshen the castle floors. For the weary winter traveler, the sight of those towers means not just power, but survival. Fire, bread, and a roof against the long cold night. Each traveler sees the castle differently. To a peasant summoned for service, it looms with a touch of dread. For inside are duties and orders. He pulls his cap low, clutches his bundle of clothes, and swallows hard as he nears the gate, wondering if the steward will find him fit. To a merchant, the castle glimmers with opportunity, for behind its gates wealth and customers await. He rehearses his prices under his breath, pats the bolts of cloth on his mule, and straightens his tunic before entering. To a pilgrim seeking shelter, it promises warmth, food, and protection from the night. She adjusts the shell upon her cloak, clasps her staff, and murmurs a prayer as the drawbridge comes into sight. To a minstrel with lute on his back, it offers both coin and audience, though also judgment, for songs must please. He tunes a string as he walks, already humming softly, hoping his verses will win favor. To a noble arriving in train, banners carried high. It is a place of kinship, politics, and rivalry, where greetings may mask caution. He rides tall upon his destrier, though his eyes search the battlements with a shrewdness born of long experience. To a child seeing it for the first time, it is a dream, a story come alive. Its towers like giants standing watch. She skips ahead, pulling her mother's hand, whispering excitedly, unable to look anywhere else. The road bends closer. The fields give way to meadows, the meadows to orchards or small outbuildings, where animals are kept, where laundry dries upon lines, where wood is piled high for the hearths within. Carts creak along the lane, loaded with sacks of grain, barrels of ale, baskets of fish, destined for the kitchens. Servants walk briskly with bundles under their arms, their voices carrying in snatches. A shepherd drives sheep toward the outer gate, their bleating rising in a chorus. Travelers too may linger here, waiting for admittance, while guards at the walls watch with steady eyes. At last, the castle itself looms directly before you. A moat glimmers around it, water moving slow, green with reeds at the edges. The drawbridge rests across it, solid with timbers, chains thick as a man's wrist stretching upward into the gatehouse. Beyond, the shadow of the archway darkens, cool and narrow. 2 guards stand on either side, spears lifted, their mail glinting faintly. The air smells of damp stone, of wood smoke, of horses and hay. A bird wheels overhead, cawing as if to mark your arrival. There are days when the approach is festive. On feast days, banners hang bright from the towers, their colors snapping in the breeze, reds and golds, blues and whites, emblazoned with lions or lilies. Music carries faintly, the sound of pipes and drums, of trumpets echoing across the moat. Crowds gather, villagers and travelers alike, pressing closer to watch as nobles arrive. Horses step proudly across the drawbridge, their manes braided, their harnesses shining. Children cheer and wave branches of green. The castle, for a moment, becomes not only fortress but stage, its gates opening wide to celebration. And yet there are days when the approach is quiet, almost solemn. A cart rattles slowly across the planks, chickens flapping within their coop, the driver humming low. A lone messenger rides hard, dust clinging to his cloak, his horse's flanks wet with sweat. A woman carries a basket of herbs from the fields, her feet bare, her shoulders stooped. All come beneath the same towers, all are greeted by the same walls, all pass into the same stone shadow. Imagine pausing here. Feel the rough wood of the drawbridge beneath your feet. Hear the slow creak of its timbers as others cross beside you. Smell the cool dampness of the moat below, the hint of rushes and waterfowl. Look upward as you walk beneath the gatehouse, where narrow slits pierce the stone, where eyes may watch unseen. It is not threat, only readiness, for castles were built with caution. And then with a few more steps, you pass through the arch, out of the open world, and into the castle's embrace. The courtyard opens wide before you, sunlight spilling upon stone and earth. Buildings rise close around, the great hall, the stables, the kitchens, the storehouses, each with doors ajar and smoke lifting from their roofs. The air is alive with voices, the ring of iron, the shuffle of feet, the laughter of children chasing one another over the worn flagstones. You have arrived. The road behind you narrows to a memory. The stone walls rise sure around you, and the life of the castle now spreads out in every direction, waiting to be known. The first breath inside a castle is different from the one outside. It carries the scent of stone warmed by sun, of straw trampled underfoot, of smoke drifting from kitchens, of horses shifting in their stalls. The courtyard spreads wide, sometimes paved with flagstones, sometimes hard-packed earth, always alive with sound. Voices echo where the walls rise close. Footsteps ring differently here, sharper, contained. The open sky stretches above, but on every side the towers climb, so that even within one feels sheltered, enclosed in strength. The courtyard is never still. At dawn, the gates creak open and life spills across the space. Grooms lead horses from the stables, their hooves striking sharp against stone. Dogs bark, tails wagging, eager for scraps or commands. Servants sweep, clearing away yesterday's straw, scattering clean rushes. Smoke curls upward from the great kitchen chimneys, already thick with the scent of boiling broth and baking bread. Children dart between legs, playing before tasks, call them to fetch water or carry messages. A blacksmith works at the edge of the yard, hammer ringing against iron, sparks leaping like fireflies. The sound carries across the stones, steady as a heartbeat. He shapes horseshoes, nails, hinges, tools, everything the castle needs. The forge glows red, his face damp with heat, his apron scarred with soot. Apprentices pump the bellows, their arms straining, their eyes fixed on the master's rhythm. Travelers pause to watch. Even those unskilled feel the power of that steady ringing, the castle's lifeblood in every stroke. Near the kitchens, servants bustle endlessly. A girl bends over a tub, scrubbing linen, water splashing at her elbows. Another carries baskets of vegetables from the garden, onions still dusty with soil, carrots bright and sharp, leeks bound with twine. In one corner, women sit plucking chickens, their hands quick, feathers rising like snow upon the air. Boys carry buckets from the well, their shoulders stooped but their eyes bright, water sloshing against the rims. The clatter of pots, the chop of knives, the low hum of voices, all mingle into the steady music of labor. The stables, too, are full of sound and scent. Horses stamp and whicker, their breath steaming in cool air. Grooms curry their coats. The brushes rasping along muscle. The smell of hay, leather, and warm bodies mingles with sharper notes of manure. Harnesses hang along the walls, polished brass catching the light. In one corner, a foal wobbles on spindly legs, nudged gently by its dam. For a noble household, horses are more than beasts. They are wealth, status, and lifeblood for travel and war. The stables are as carefully tended as the chambers within the keep. Everywhere there is motion. Carters unload sacks of flour from a wagon, their shoulders bowed, dust rising as the bags are set down. A cooper repairs a barrel, his mallet tapping the hoops tight. A baker's boy carries trays of small loaves, the yeasty fragrance trailing after him. A page runs, breathless, to deliver a message from hall to tower, his hair flying, his feet slapping stone. Chickens scratch in corners, pigs grunt in their pens. Geese hiss if approached too closely. Dogs wander, half servants, half guardians, their ears pricking at every shout. Yet amid all this bustle, moments of quiet still appear. In the shade of the wall, an old woman sits with her spindle, wool twisting steady between her fingers. A priest walks slowly across the yard, beads sliding through his hands as he murmurs his prayers. A cat curls upon a sun-warmed step, unbothered by the clamor. In the high tower above, a falconer leans upon the battlements, his bird hooded and calm upon his glove, both watching the courtyard below as if it were a stage. The courtyard changes with the hours. In the morning, it is brisk with labor, each task urgent, each hand occupied. By midday, it grows fuller still, for meals must be carried in and out. Servants bear trenchers and pitchers toward the hall, balancing carefully, dodging children and dogs. The smell of roasted meat drifts out, mingling with sweat and horses and forge smoke. Laughter rises here and there, a brief pause in labor, before footsteps quicken once again. In the afternoon, the pace softens. The blacksmith pauses to wipe his brow. Apprentices laugh as they carry tools back inside. The dogs lie panting in shade. Evening comes, the light deepens, and tasks are finished one by one. Buckets are stacked, broom bristles worn, gates shut, doors barred. Only the watch remains, and the courtyard grows hushed, shadows long beneath torchlight. The seasons, too, paint the courtyard in shifting colors. In spring, the air smells fresh with new rushes scattered, bright flowers tucked into corners to sweeten the air. Buckets brim with rainwater, and every surface gleams damp. In summer, the stones grow hot underfoot, and dust swirls with every step. In autumn, carts bring in sheaves of grain and baskets of apples, the courtyard thick with harvest scents. In winter, snow lies upon the ground, trampled to slush, and smoke rises thick from every chimney. The rhythm of labor shifts with the needs of each season, but never ceases, for the castle breathes through its courtyard. And always there are the arrivals. A merchant caravan enters, their wheels rattling upon the drawbridge, their goods unpacked before the steward's watchful eye. A wandering minstrel bows low, offering song for supper, his lute already strummed as children gather eagerly around. A pilgrim leans upon her staff, weary from miles, seeking a place by the fire for a night. A knight returns from patrol, his horse steaming, his armor dulled with dust, greeted with nods and quiet words. Each arrival adds its own thread to the tapestry of sound and sight, woven into the daily life of the courtyard. Pause a moment here. Listen to the hammer, the laughter, the bark, the cluck, the creak of wheels, the splash of water, the endless hum of voices. Smell the bread, the sweat, the smoke, the hay. See the colors. Bright cloth hanging to dry, banners fluttering above, children's tunics patched with many shades. Feel the warmth of the sun upon the stones, the roughness of straw beneath your hand, the cool shadow where the walls rise tall. The courtyard is not the heart of power that lies in the hall, but it is the castle's breath, pulse, its daily life. And now, as the sun shifts toward afternoon, let us step slowly toward the hall itself. The great doors stand wide. Voices echo within, firelight spilling outward. Beyond them lies the gathering place, where stone turns to splendor, where daily labor gives way to ritual, ceremony, and feast. The courtyard has welcomed us, has shown us its labor and its laughter. Now it bids us climb the steps, cross the threshold, and enter the great hall, where the castle's true voice waits to be heard. Step with me now across the courtyard, past the bustle of servants and the sounds of the forge, and look toward the largest door, wide and heavy with iron fittings. These are the doors of the great hall, the heart of the castle. Push them gently, and they swing inward with a groan of hinges, opening into a world at once vast and close. A chamber where stone and timber meet to shelter both majesty and daily life. The first sensation is one of space. The hall stretches long and high, its roof a forest of beams overhead, its walls thick and steady, pierced by narrow windows through which shafts of light slant and fall upon the flagstones. At one end, the dais is raised, where the lord and lady sit in carved chairs, their household gathered around. Along the sides stretch long trestle tables, ready to be set with trenchers of bread and jugs of ale. At the far end burns the hearth, great logs laid one upon another, flames crackling and sending shadows dancing up the walls. The hall breathes warmth, sound, and presence. By day the hall is the place of business. Servants scurry across its length, carrying messages, sweeping rushes, tending fires. The steward stands near the dais, his tablet in hand, his voice carrying as he lists accounts. Sacks of grain received, barrels of ale brewed, debts owed, rents collected. Petitioners come, bending knee before the lord or lady, their voices low, but their concerns plain. A farmer pleads for more time to pay. A shepherd reports lost sheep. A craftsman offers his skill in exchange for protection. The hall echoes with these voices, the business of land and life. Each matter weighed, answered, recorded. The great hall is also a place of law. Disputes are brought here, neighbors arguing over fields or oxen, servants accused of theft, men caught brawling in the yard. The Lord listens, the steward repeats, witnesses speak. The hall grows hushed, all ears bent to hear. Judgment is given, sometimes with mercy, sometimes with sternness, always with finality. The hall carries this weight, its stones steady, its roof listening, as it has listened to countless quarrels and resolutions before. When midday comes, the hall becomes a place of eating. Long trestles are set up, their boards resting upon trestle legs, benches drawn alongside. Trenchers of coarse bread are laid out, knives brought forth, pitchers of ale poured. Servants carry in dishes from the kitchens, pottage steaming, roasted meats, wheels of cheese, baskets of apples, platters of beans and peas. The hall fills with the smell of food, with the clatter of spoons, the scrape of benches, the laughter of voices rising. The lord and lady sit at the high table, their meal richer, their trenchers finer, but the hall holds all. Noble and servant, guest and retainer, all fed in the same space, though not always with the same fare. When feasting comes, the hall is transformed. Banners hang bright upon the walls, torches flare in sconces, the fire roars high. The trestles are covered with cloths, silver dishes gleam, goblets shine. Servants hurry with roasted swans, with spiced pies, with gilded pastries shaped like castles or beasts. Music rises, harps, flutes, drums, the clear voice of a singer filling the rafters. Minstrels stand upon stools, reciting tales of knights and saints, of battles and romances, their hands sweeping, their eyes alight. Children gape, mouths sticky with honey cakes, their eyes wide at the spectacle. Nobles toast, their voices carrying laughter echoing. Dogs bark eagerly beneath the tables for scraps. For a night, the hall becomes not only a place of order, but of splendor, delight, abundance. In the quieter hours, the hall softens. As evening draws on and tasks are done, the tables are cleared, the rushes swept, the benches stacked, the fire burns lower, embers glowing red. Servants move softly, their footsteps muffled, voices hushed. Sometimes guards sleep in corners, their cloaks pulled tight, their swords near. Dogs curl before the hearth, tails twitching in dreams. A lone candle burns upon the dais, its light small in the great dark. The hall, which rang with voices and feasting, now lies hushed, its vastness filled with silence and shadow. It is not empty, but resting like a great beast between labors. The seasons mark the hall, as surely as they mark the fields. In winter, the fire is piled high, smoke curling upward to vanish through the louver in the roof. People huddle close, their breath faint in the cold air, their cloaks wrapped tight, their hands warmed at the blaze. In summer, the doors stand open, breezes stirring the rushes, sunlight falling long across the floor. In spring, garlands of greenery are hung for holy days, the scent of flowers mingling with wood smoke. In autumn, the hall smells of cider, of new bread, of stored apples. The hall is never the same twice, yet always it is the same in essence, a place of shelter, gathering, order, and life. Stories are born here as well. A minstrel tells of King Arthur, and children repeat it for weeks to come. A noblewoman hears a ballad sung and hums its refrain as she works her embroidery. A boy crouches near the hearth, listening to the old men speak of battles past, his eyes bright with dreams. The hall is both stage and audience, both memory and promise. Even in its quietest hours, when only the embers glow and a watchman's footsteps echo, the hall holds all that has passed within it. Every laugh, every quarrel, every song, every judgment lingers, as if the stone itself remembers. To stand in the great hall is to feel the weight of time, the presence of countless lives layered one upon another. So linger here with me a little longer. Listen to the echoes, the ring of a hammer at noon, the high song of a minstrel, the hush of a prayer at night. Smell the mingling scents, roasted meat, spilled ale, smoke, rushes, flowers. See the shifting lights, torch flame, sunlight, candle, ember. Feel the worn stone beneath your hand, the warmth of the fire against your face, the cool shadow of the wall at your back. The great hall is more than stone and wood. It is the beating heart of the castle, where power is shown, where joy is shared, where life is woven day by day. Step with me now, away from the great hall. The fire there burns bright. The laughter and songs still echo, but beyond it lie doors and stairways leading deeper into the castle's private heart. The hall is the public face, where the household gathers, where meals and judgments are made. Yet behind and above it stretch chambers of many kinds, where life unfolds more quietly, in softer rhythms, where the stone walls hold not only feasting but also sleeping, waking, working, and dreaming. The first impression of these chambers is one of change in scale. After the vast space of the hall, the rooms feel closer, the ceilings lower, the air quieter. Steps climb upward in spiral staircases, narrow and worn smooth by countless feet. Torches flicker along the walls, their smoke curling into the dimness. Doors are thick and heavy, set with iron fittings, and when they swing open, they reveal spaces warmer, more personal, filled with the signs of daily life. At the heart of the household lie the lords' and ladies' chambers. These are larger than most, often set in a sola, high above the courtyard, where light streams in through windows, fitted with shutters or thin panes of horn. Tapestries hang along the walls, their colors muted, but their patterns rich, keeping out drafts and telling stories of hunts, saints, or battles. The floor is strewn with rushes sweetened with herbs, lavender, thyme, meadowsweet, to freshen the air. In one corner stands a great bed, its frame heavy with carved wood, its posts tall, its curtains drawn at night to keep in warmth. Upon it lie mattresses of feather or wool, layered with blankets and furs. A chest stands near, iron-bound, its lid closed upon garments and linens. A chair with high back rests beside the hearth, where a small fire burns even when the hall's blaze has gone low. A table holds writing tools, perhaps a book of hours with painted letters, or a casket with letters and seals. On the sill of a narrow window sits a pot of herbs, their scent mingling with the smoke of the fire. Here the lord and lady wake, dress, speak of the day's tasks, receive close friends, or sit in the evening by firelight while embroidery or quiet talk passes the time. Children's chambers are humbler, yet still warm with life. A boy may sleep upon a small bed, its mattress stuffed with straw, a wooden sword leaning against the wall. A girl may curl beneath blankets, her wooden doll beside her, carved simply but cherished. Toys lie scattered, balls made of rags, hoops, carved animals, whistles. In the mornings, laughter rings as children chase each other across the floor, their bare feet quick, their voices carrying down the corridor. Their nurse or attendant scolds gently, her hands busy braiding hair or tying laces, or sunlight spills through the narrow windows. Servants' sleeping spaces are simpler still. Some rest in chambers near the kitchens, where the heat of the fires keeps the cold at bay. Others share dormitories, rows of pallets filled with straw, blankets thin but shared, clothes hanging from pegs along the wall, shoes lined neatly by the door. The air smells of smoke, sweat, and wool, yet laughter softens it as servants share stories before sleep, their voices hushed, their faces lit by the glow of a rushlight. Dogs may creep in, curling close for warmth, accepted as companions in the cold nights. The routines of the day begin early. At dawn, the watchman's horn sounds, and servants stir from their pallets, rubbing eyes, stretching sore limbs. Fires are kindled in hearths, water carried from wells, bread fetched from the ovens. The lord and lady wake later, their attendants helping them dress in linen, wool or velvet, according to season and station. Breakfast is small, perhaps ale and bread, perhaps cheese or fruit, before tasks begin. The lady may sit in her chamber, needle in hand, embroidery spreading across her lap, while her maid reads softly from a book of prayers. The Lord may meet with steward or scribe, lists of accounts spread before them. Children practice letters or chase hoops across the solar until scolded back to their lessons. The rhythm of the day carries its own quiet music. The crackle of small fires, the scrape of chairs, the murmur of voices reading aloud, the faint clink of needle against thimble. From time to time, laughter rises, or a cry of protest from a child, or the bark of a dog. The castle breathes differently in its chambers, more softly than in its hall or courtyard, but no less alive. Evening brings another rhythm. Candles are lit, their flames small but steady. Shadows lengthen across walls hung with tapestry. Families gather, voices lower, the day's labors set aside. The Lord may sit in his chair, his face warmed by fire, while the lady sews by candlelight. A minstrel invited close, he sings softly of saints or kings. His lute gentle in the hush. Children yawn, curl beneath blankets, and are told a last story before sleep. Servants bank the fires, scatter fresh herbs upon the floor, and slip away, their tasks done until morning. Seasons change these chambers too. In winter, furs are piled upon beds, curtains drawn tight, fires burning late into the night. The air smells of smoke and pine. The windows rimmed with frost. In summer, shutters stand open, breezes stirring the tapestries, sunlight falling long across the floor. In spring, herbs are hung in bunches from the rafters, drying for medicine and cooking. In autumn, chests are filled with woolens, and apples are stored in baskets in the corners. Life turns with the year, even within stone walls. Small stories fill these chambers, and each one gives them life. A child drops her doll into the rushes and finds it again, only days later, smiling wide with relief. A lady pricks her finger at embroidery, and her maid rushes to fetch a cloth, both laughing at the tiny mishap. A servant hums softly as he polishes boots, the tune carrying down the corridor and comforting a boy half asleep in the next room. These are not grand events, but they are the fabric of life, soft threads that weave warmth into stone. So rest here with me a little while longer. Picture the fire glowing low in the hearth, the shadows playing across the walls. Hear the faint murmur of voices, the rustle of fabric, the distant sound of laughter in another room. Smell the herbs, the smoke, the wool. Feel the softness of straw beneath your hand, the warmth of a blanket pulled close. The chambers of the castle are not only places of power, but of quiet humanity, of rest, of dreams. They remind us that behind the strength of walls lies the tender rhythm of daily life, steady as a heartbeat, enduring as stone. Behind every stone wall, beneath every banner, Beyond the carved chairs of lord and lady leads the quiet power of countless hands. A castle might gleam with tapestries, ring with music, or stand proud against the sky, but without its servants it would be silent, cold, and bare. It is they who rise before dawn, who kindle the first fire, who fetch the first pail of water, who sweep, scrub, cook, carry, mend, and wash. Their presence is often unseen in tales, but in truth they were the castle's breath and bone, its steady life. The day begins early for them. Long before the Lord stirs, the servants are at their tasks. In the kitchens, the scullions are already awake, carrying buckets from the well, stoking the fires, laying pots upon the iron hooks. The hearth is enormous, wide enough to roast whole beasts, and its smoke rises thick, stinging eyes, clinging to hair and clothes. Scullions scrub the pots from yesterday, their hands roar in cold water, while cooks bark orders and apprentices chop vegetables with blunt knives. The air grows warm, then hot, heavy, with the smell of wood smoke, onions, and broth. The first loaves go into the ovens, and the castle's waking is scented with bread. In the stables, another crew is at work. Grooms rise in the dark to feed the horses, measuring oats, pitching hay, filling troughs with water carried in buckets that slosh against their legs. Hooves stamp impatiently, tails swish, snorts rise into the air. Harnesses are checked, brushes rasp against coats, straw is forked fresh beneath. The stables smell of leather, hay, and warm animals. A sharp contrast to the kitchen's steam. By the time the sun rises, the horses are shining, fed and ready, their tack hung neatly, their stalls swept. Elsewhere, maids bustle through corridors with brooms of twigs, scattering fresh rushes, scented with herbs. They empty chamber pots, carry water for washing, polish candlesticks until they gleam. Their hands are chapped, their backs bent, yet they hum softly as they work, filling the silent passages with snatches of song. In the laundry, women bend over tubs, pounding linen against boards, rinsing it in streams, hanging it to dry upon lines in the courtyard where the wind snatches it and sets it fluttering like banners. Their laughter rings as they gossip, the water splashing cold upon their arms, their skirts heavy and damp. At the top of the household stand the stewards and officers. The steward moves through the castle like its mind, holding lists of stores, keeping account of rents, ordering supplies. He is stern, respected, often feared, for he holds the purse and the authority of the Lord. The marshal oversees the stables, the chamberlain the private rooms, the butler the buttery with its barrels of ale and wine. Each commands others, and beneath them spreads a hierarchy as complex as the castle itself. Pages and squires walk between these worlds, half servant, half student. Boys of noble birth serve as pages, running errands, learning manners, carrying messages, watching the life of the hall. They hold basins for washing, pour wine at table, help their masters dress. Their eyes are wide, their hands often clumsy, but each day teaches them, for service is their schooling. Older boys become squires, tending to knights, polishing armor, caring for horses, carrying shields. Their labor is heavy, but their reward is learning. For one day they may be knights themselves. Not all tasks are noble. The lowest scullions sweep floors, scrub pots, empty privies, carry water. Their hands are raw, their backs ache. Yet even their labor is vital. Without water, without clean pots, without swept floors, the castle would sink into filth and sickness. They are the quiet backbone, rarely praised, often shouted at, yet indispensable. No, the rhythm of servants' lives is marked by repetition. Water fetched, pots scrubbed, floors swept, meals prepared, clothes mended. Yet within this rhythm are small vary. A feast day doubles the work, filling the kitchens with geese and venison, filling the hall with trestles and torches. A noble visit demands fresh rushes, polished silver, beds heaped with furs. A wedding or christening transforms the household, every hand required, every task multiplied. In winter, fires must be fed ceaselessly, snow cleared, cloaks dried. In summer, the laundry multiplies, the gardens yield herbs and greens, and flies swarm thick about the kitchens. The servants adapt with patience, their lives turning as steadily as the seasons. Within their work, small stories unfold. A kitchen boy burns his hand upon a pot and is sent to the herb garden, where the wise woman soothes it with salve of comfrey. A laundress loses a cloth to the wind and runs laughing across the courtyard to catch it. A groom hums to a nervous mare, calming her with voice and touch. A page spills ale upon a noble's sleeve and turns red with shame, only to be forgiven with a smile and a lesson. These are not the tales sung by minstrels, but they are the true life of the castle, woven day by ordinary hands. Servants live close together, often sleeping in shared spaces, eating from the same pot. Their lives bound by common labor. Friendships form, rivalries spark, love sometimes blossoms. A maid glances at a groom in the stables. A cook scolds, but later presses an extra crust into a scullion's hand. Slaughter bursts out at a shared joke, even in the midst of toil. Hardship binds them, but so too does fellowship. At times, the castle itself feels like a servant's master. Its stones demand cleaning, its fires demand feeding, its stores demand counting, its guests demand tending. The walls stand stern, requiring endless care, yet they also shelter those within. For the servant, the castle is both burden and home. Pause here with me and listen to their world. The steady chop of knives, the rasp of brushes against coats, the splash of water, the ring of hammer on iron. Smell the mingling scents, smoke, hay, wet linen, broth, manure, soap. See the worn hands, the bent backs, the swift feet, the tired eyes that still sparkle with laughter. These servants are not names in chronicles, but they are the breath of the castle. Without them, the halls would be empty, the hearths cold, the walls silent. With them, the castle lives. So remember them gently as you pass through this place. For though history speaks often of kings and lords, It was the cooks, the maids, the grooms, the pages, the stewards, the scullions who made stone into life, who turned fortress into home. They are the quiet chorus behind the banners, the steady heartbeat behind the roar of feasts. They remind us that greatness rests not only in towers, but in hands that labor unseen. Every castle is more than walls of stone, it is also watchfulness. Beneath the banners and feasts, beyond the laughter of children, or the hum of servants, there lies the constant rhythm of defense. For a castle, above all else, was built to stand guard over its lord and lady, its household, its lands, its people. Its towers rise not only to catch the sun, but to watch for danger. Its gates are not only thresholds, but barriers. And its people, day after day, give their labor to keep the castle ready, strong and sure. At dawn, when the courtyard stirs with kitchen fires and stable noises, the guards are already at their posts. Upon the walls they walk, their cloaks wrapped close against the morning chill, their eyes searching the fields below. The watch changes here, as it has for centuries, one man stepping down, another stepping up, a brief word exchanged, a spear passed, a nod of thanks. The new guard leans upon the parapet, looking outward as the sun lifts itself slowly over the horizon. The land is still dew silver upon the grass, a bird rising from the hedgerow. Yet his eyes stay steady, for his task is not to admire, but to guard. The sounds of defense are steady companions. The gate creaks as it rises, its chains rattling, iron grinding against iron. Hooves clatter upon the drawbridge as carts pass. Bells ring from the towers, sometimes to mark the hour, sometimes to warn of fire, sometimes to summon the garrison. The clatter of weapons is constant in the training yard. Swords striking against wooden posts, arrows thudding into straw butts, shields ringing with the blows of practice. The castle is never silent, for vigilance is a living sound. Trick is as constant as watching. In the yard below, squires sweat beneath wooden swords, their arms aching, their tunics clinging with damp. They thrust, parry, block, again and again, their masters' voices sharp above them. Faster, again, mind your foot. Pages stand to the side, holding water jugs, wide-eyed at the clash. Knights practice too, their armor clinking, their shields scarred from countless drills. Horses are led into the lists, their breath steaming, their hooves pounding the earth as they gallop past targets. Lances shattering upon impact. Archers stand in rows, their bows creaking as they draw, arrows rising in arcs, then falling in sharp rhythm. Each arrow thuds, each strike teaches, each day builds the strength of the garrison. There are moments of play here as well, though it is play with purpose. Boys wrestle in the yard, rolling in the dust, laughing until a master scolds them back to drills. A young squire boasts of his aim, only to miss his mark and blush under the jeers of his fellows. A knight rides with lance lowered, striking a ring suspended on a cord, and when he carries it clean upon his lance tip, the yard cheers. Pride stirs, rivalry sparks, slaughter bursts forth, but all beneath the steady gaze of captains who know that one day these games may be measured against real danger. The castle's defenses are more than men, its very stones are shaped for war. Walk with me along the walls, where the parapets rise waist high, the crenels cut deep to allow arrows to fly. Laying out, and you see the moat below, its waters still and green, its banks steep and slick. Look upward, and the towers climb higher, their arrow slits narrow, their stairs spiraling tight, so that defenders may strike downward upon invaders. Within the walls lie stores, barrels of arrows, piles of stones, pots waiting to be filled with sand or water, to be heated and poured upon attackers. Even in times of peace, these things are kept ready, for readiness is the castle's law. Rise and shape this vigilance in summer. The guards upon the wall squint against the glare, sweat running down beneath their helms. The stones grow hot, the air thick, and flies buzz about their ears. Yet they stand, shields resting upon parapets, eyes upon the shimmering horizon. In winter the watch is harsher still. The wind cuts, the frost stiffens every joint, the stone beneath boots grows slick with ice. Guards stamp their feet, clap their hands, breathe into their cupped palms. Yet still they stand, for the castle cannot sleep. The horn sounds, the watch changes, another man takes his place, cloak tight, eyes scanning the snow-covered fields. Night carries its own demands. Torches are lit along the walls, their flames wavering in the wind, their light casting long shadows. The night watch moves more slowly, ears sharp for sound, a fox rustling in the ditch, an owl calling from the trees, the faint splash of water in the moat. The stars shine bright above, the moon silver upon the stones. Yet the guard's eyes search the darkness below. Sometimes nothing stirs for hours. Sometimes the night hums with unseen life. Yet the watch is never broken, for even the quietest night may carry danger. Within the armory, the clang of metal is constant. Smiths repair helmets, rivet mail, hammer dents from shields. Leather workers cut and stitch straps, oil harnesses, mend scabbards. Boys polish swords until their arms ache, learning patience with each stroke of the cloth. The air smells of iron, oil, and sweat, a sharp, heavy scent. Every piece of gear must be ready, every weapon sharp, every strap sound, for a single weakness could cost dearly. The armory is a place of endless repetition, yet also of quiet pride. A polished helm, a well-oiled bowstring, a sharpened sword. All are victories, small but essential. Defense also lies in order. The captain of the guard walks the yard, his eyes sharp, his voice commanding. He assigns the watch, drills the men, checks the stores. He knows each soldier by name, knows who can shoot straight, who can run far, who can climb quickest to the tower. Beneath him, sergeants keep the men steady, barking commands, correcting stances, ensuring no slackness grows. Discipline is the marrow of defense, and it is built day by day, word by word, strike by strike. Not all who defend are men at arms. Women too play their part, carrying water to the walls, mending clothing, boiling herbs for salves, tending to the hurt after drills. Children fetch arrows in the yard, laughing as they run, dreaming of the day they may carry them in battle. Even dogs serve, their ears quick to hear strangers, their barks loud in the night. In a siege, every hand is needed, every voice matters, every soul carries weight. And there are tales, told quietly, of the times when the defenses were tested. A bell ringing suddenly in the night, the gates barred, the drawbridge lifted, arrows gathered, cauldrons filled, horns sounding across the fields, men running to posts, women carrying water, children hushed. Sometimes the alarm proves false. A herd of deer startling in the dark, a fire in the distance mistaken for torches. Relief flows through the castle then, laughter rising after the fear. But other times the alarm is true, and then every practice, every drill, every weary hour upon the wall is remembered as life itself. Even in peace, the shadow of war lies across the castle. It is not a shadow of fear, but of readiness. To walk within these walls is to live always with the thought of danger, not as terror, but as duty. The guards who pace the battlements, the squires who sweat in the yard, the smiths who hammer in the armory, they all know that their labor may one day stand between life and loss. And so they labor on, steady, patient, unyielding. Pause here with me. Feel the weight of a shield upon your arm, the heat of the sun upon your back, the ache of your feet upon the wall. Hear the clang of sword on post, the snap of bowstring, the rattle of chain. Smell the oil upon leather, the iron in the air, the smoke of torches. See the men and women, their faces tired but firm, their eyes steady upon the horizon. This is the castle in its watchful life, its daily defense, its quiet, endless readiness. And as the day fades, as the sun sets and shadows deepen, the watch remains. A horn sounds, a guard takes his place, a torch is lit, a bell tolls. The castle breathes in and out, never sleeping, always guarding. And those within may rest, for others wake in their stead, keeping the night at bay. Step with me away from the clang of the training yard, away from the watchman's call upon the walls, into a different part of the castle, one that breathes more softly, where labor and vigilance give way to gentleness and stillness. For even within the hardest of stones, people sought quiet, and even behind the strongest walls, they planted things that grew. The castle garden is often small, but it is filled with life. Herbs grow here in neat rows, sage with its soft gray leaves, rosemary sharp and green, thyme small and delicate, mint spreading quick and cool. Their scents rise when brushed by a passing hand, mingling with the smell of earth and sun. Some are for cooking, to flavor pottage or roast, others for medicine, to ease fevers, to heal wounds, to soothe the belly. Women gather them daily, their baskets filling with green, their fingers brushing stems, their voices soft as they speak of which herb will ease which pain. Vegetables grow too, humble and steady. Cabbages swell tight and round. Carrots hide their sweetness in the dark soil. Leeks stand tall and straight. Beans twine around their poles. These are tended not by nobles, but by servants. Yet their bounty fills the kitchens and keeps the household fed. Children help weed, pulling at roots without laughter. Their hands muddy, their knees stained. The garden is not grand, but it is precious, for it is food, health, and life itself. Flowers grow as well, planted for beauty as much as for use. Roses climb against stone walls, their blooms soft as velvet. Lilies stand pale and tall, their scent rich. Violets creep low, bright in the shade. In spring the garden bursts with color. In summer it hums with bees. In autumn it glows gold and red. In winter it lies bare, but not dead, waiting for warmth to return. Even here the seasons turn, and the castle breathes their rhythm. Beyond the gardens lie quiet courtyards, small spaces enclosed by walls or cloisters. Here, stone paths circle wells or fountains, their water splashing soft and steady. Benches sit in shade, where ladies rest with embroidery, their fingers quick, their eyes lifting often to watch children at play. Boys roll hoops across the stones, their laughter ringing. Girls skip rope, their voices bright. Old men sit and tell tales, their hands tracing the air, their listeners leaning close. Cats stretch in the sun, dogs doze at their masters' feet. Pigeons coo in the rafters. The courtyard is not empty. It is alive with gentleness, with the softer side of castle life. There is also the bower, a shaded corner with trellises of vines or woven willow. Here a noble woman may sit with her maid, the air fragrant with herbs, her lap filled with embroidery, or spinning. Her voice is soft, sometimes singing, sometimes telling stories to a child at her knee. The bower is a place of shelter from the sun, of cool rest in the heat of summer. Its stillness is deep, its peace profound. The castle chapel is perhaps the quietest space of all. Small, but filled with reverence, it glows with candlelight even at midday. Its walls are painted with saints, its altar dressed with linen, its benches polished smooth by years of prayer. Here the household gathers in the morning, their voices rising in hymns. Here, too, one may come alone, to kneel in silence, to let the hush of stone and flame soothe the heart. The chapel smells of wax and incense, of stone cool as shadow. It is the castle's soul, its reminder that strength is not only of arms, but of spirit. Seasons soften these spaces. In spring, blossoms scatter across the courtyard, petals drifting like snow. The air smells of rain, and the herbs grow fast, their leaves tender. In summer, the garden hums with bees, and children chase butterflies, their laughter mingling with bird song. In autumn, leaves fall across the cloisters, crunching underfoot, and the air smells of ripe apples stored in baskets. In winter, Snow lies upon the benches, icicles hang from the eaves, yet candles still burn in the chapel, and herbs hang drying in the kitchens, their scent sharp against the cold. Small stories unfold here, too. A servant, weary from labor, slips into the courtyard at dusk, sits upon a bench, and breathes deep. The day's burdens easing. A child hides behind a rosebush in play, giggling until found. A lady drops her needle, and her maid retrieves it with a smile. A minstrel rests in the bower, strumming softly as the evening cools. These are not the loud tales of feasts or battles, but the quiet threads that weave comfort into stone. Pause here a while. Listen to the bees in summer air, to the trickle of water in the fountain, to the soft murmur of voices in the shade. Smell the rosemary, the mint, the roses. See the candlelight flicker upon painted saints. The sunlight dapple the herbs, the frost sparkle upon bare branches. Feel the smooth stone beneath your hand, the warmth of the sun upon your face, the hush of the chapel at your back. In these gardens and quiet spaces, the castle breathes its gentlest breath, reminding all within that, even amid strength and vigilance, there is always need for peace. Though castles stood for strength, they also rang with joy. Stone walls echoed not only with horns and weapons, but with music, laughter, and song. Life was not all labor or vigilance. There were days when banners flew brighter, when tables groaned under abundance, when the sound of pipes and drums carried across the courtyard. For within these walls, people found time to celebrate, to mark weddings, holy days, and victories, to welcome guests, and to honor traditions. A wedding was one of the grandest occasions. From early morning the castle stirred, servants bustling to prepare, cooks working in heat and haste. The kitchens roared with fire, spits turning, pots bubbling, ovens packed with bread. The air grew thick with the scent of roasting meats, of spices rare and precious, of honey warming into sweetmeats. Bakers shaped pies into elaborate forms, some even gilded with beaten gold. Brewers rolled casks of ale into place, and wine was drawn from the buttery. The hall transformed. Tapestries hung fresh upon the walls, rushes scattered thick upon the floor, flowers twined in garlands across beams. Candles blazed, torches flared, silver and pewter gleamed upon the high table. Musicians tuned harps and fiddles, their notes bright and eager. Minstrels rehearsed songs of love and blessing, their voices carrying softly. Guests arrived in cloaks and jewels, laughter and anticipation spilling into the courtyard. Children darted about, their eyes wide, their voices rising in excitement. The ceremony itself might be held in the chapel, hushed and glowing with candlelight. The priest spoke blessings, voices answered in prayer. Rings were exchanged, hands clasped, vows spoken. Outside, trumpets sounded, horns rang, and cheers rose from the gathered crowd. The bride and groom walked together beneath a canopy of flowers, their faces lit with both solemnity and joy. For a moment, the whole castle seemed wrapped in gladness. Then came the feast, In the great hall, long tables filled quickly, trenchers laden, goblets raised. The high table held delicacies, roast swan, peacocks in their feathers, pies stuffed with game and fruit, spiced wines. For the household and guests, simpler fare. Bread, cheese, roasted meats, beans, apples, ale, yet abundant and shared with cheer. Music filled the air, harpers playing, drums beating, voices lifted in song. Dancers circled, their steps quick, their faces bright. Children clapped, dogs barked for scraps. Minstrels told tales that drew laughter and tears alike. The hall glowed, and the stone walls seemed softer, warmed by joy. Holy days too transformed the castle. At Christmas, greenery was hung in every chamber, holly and ivy bright against stone. A Yule log burned in the hall, its blaze lasting days, its sparks rising high. Carols were sung, candles burned late into the night, feasts laid out with pies, puddings, spiced drinks. At Easter, the chapel blazed with light, bells pealed, eggs were dyed in bright colors, lamb roasted for the feast. On saints' days, processions wound through the courtyard, banners lifted high, relics displayed, prayers sung in solemn voices. These holy days carried both reverence and gladness, binding castle and village, alike in shared celebration. Tournaments brought another kind of festivity, loud, bright, filled with spectacle. Trumpets blared, banners streamed, knights rode forth in armor gleaming. In the lists outside the walls, lances shattered, swords clashed, shields rang, crowds roared. Children perched on shoulders, women cheered from beneath awnings. The air filled with dust, the smell of sweat and horses, the sound of hooves pounding the earth. For the squires, it was a day of labor, polishing armor, tending horses, carrying water. For the minstrels, a day of song, praising victories, mourning defeats, weaving tales of bravery. For the people, it was wonder, a memory to carry for years. Visiting nobles also brought pageantry. Processions entered the courtyard with trumpets, banners snapping, cloaks of velvet and fur gleaming. Gifts were exchanged, silver cups, bolts of silk, jewels, falcons. Feasts were laid, dances held, hunts arranged. For days the castle swelled with guests, every chamber filled, every servant pressed into service. The air rang with conversation, the clink of goblets, the sound of horses in the yard. And when the guests departed, the castle returned to its quieter rhythm. But the memory of splendor lingered. Seasons gave shape to celebrations. Spring brought May dances, garlands of flowers, ribbons twined around poles. Summer feasts spilled into courtyards, music echoing under starry skies. Autumn marked harvests with cider, apples, nuts, and grain. Joy mingling with relief at plenty. Winter brought fires, stories, and long nights brightened by laughter and song. Each season had its gladness, each year its rhythm, each castle its moments of joy. Small vignettes make these days shine brightest, a child gaping at a juggler, tossing knives in the hall. a cook wiping sweat from his brow, proud of the feast he has laid, a minstrel's voice breaking with emotion as he sings of love, a squire blushing as he is praised for courage in the lists, a lady smiling as she watches her children dance, a servant stealing a quiet taste of pie and grinning wide. But these moments, small yet vivid, are the true treasures of festivity. Pause here with me. Hear the trumpets, the drums, the laughter. Smell the spices, the roasted meat, the crushed herbs underfoot. See the torches blazing, the banners streaming, the faces glowing in firelight. Feel the press of the crowd, the warmth of a goblet in your hand, the beat of music in your chest. Castles were not only stone and vigilance, they were also places of joy, of gathering, of shared delight. In their feasts and festivals, their weddings and holy days, their tournaments and visits, they showed that life, even behind walls, could blaze with color and wonder. Dusk comes slowly to the castle. The sun dips behind the towers, its light gilding the battlements, its rays catching the tops of banners before fading into shadow. The courtyard softens, work slows, voices grow quieter, tasks draw to a close. Buckets are stacked, tools laid aside, animals fed and tethered. Children are called indoors, their laughter echoing once more before fading into stillness. As the last glow fades, torches are lit along the walls, their flames flickering gold against stone. The gates are drawn shut, chains rattle, wood thuds, iron bars fall into place. The drawbridge rises with groaning timbers, lifted slowly until it rests secure. Guards call to one another, their voices carrying across the moat. A horn sounds once, low and steady, marking that the castle is sealed for the night. Those within are safe. Those without must wait until dawn. The castle shifts its rhythm. By day it is loud with labor, but by night it breathes more slowly. The great hall grows dim, its long tables cleared, its fire banked to glowing embers. Only a few candles remain, their light small in the vast space, shadows stretching high into the beams. Servants move softly, sweeping rushes, setting stools in order, carrying scraps to the dogs waiting outside the door. Their voices are hushed, their steps careful, as if the hall itself rests. In the kitchens, the last pots are scrubbed, water sloshing, cloths wrung out. The smell of the day's cooking lingers, rich and heavy, roasted meat, baked bread, herbs, smoke. Cooks hang their ladles, wipe their hands, mutter a final word to the apprentices before sending them to bed. A scullion yawns wide, scrubbing one last pan, his head drooping even as his hands keep moving. Soon the fires are damped, their glow faint, the kitchen left to its stillness. The chambers above are warmer, more intimate. Candles burn beside beds, shadows dancing across tapestries. The lord and lady retire, attendants drawing bed curtains, placing warming pans beneath blankets, setting books of prayer upon chests. Children curl into their blankets, toys clutched tight, their eyes heavy, their voices soft as they beg for a last story. A nurse whispers, her voice low and steady, weaving saints and heroes into dreams. Servants share pallets, their laughter fading into murmurs, their limbs stretching gratefully into rest. Dogs curl close, their breathing soft, their warmth welcome, yet the castle is never fully asleep. Guards pace the battlements, their footsteps steady upon stone. Cloaks pulled tight, spears in hand, they watch the dark horizon. The night is not silent. Owls call from the woods, dogs bark in the yard, a fox rustles near the moat. The wind sighs through the arrow slits, torches sputter, chains creak faintly. Sometimes a guard stamps his feet, claps his hands, mutters to keep awake. Sometimes he sings softly to himself, a half-forgotten tune. The castle listens, the night listens, and time moves slow. There are moments of unease. A horse snickers sharply in the stable, ears pricked. A guard halts, listening, peering into the dark. The horn is lifted, ready to sound. But then silence returns, the danger no more than shadow or imagination. The guard lowers the horn, breathes deep, and walks on. Such moments keep the watch alert, their eyes searching, their ears straining. For though many nights pass quietly, none may be ignored. Inside, not all sleep at once. A scribe works late by candlelight, his pen scratching, his ink pot steady. A cook finishes kneading dough for tomorrow's bread, setting loaves to rise in the cool air. A servant mends a tear in a tunic, her needle glinting in the faint light. A minstrel plucks a lute softly, humming to himself, his song drifting gentle into the quiet. These small tasks carry on, unnoticed by most, yet part of the castle's night. The chapel glows faintly, a few candles burning before the altar. A priest kneels, his beads sliding through his fingers, his voice murmuring prayers. The stone walls echo his words softly, the sound a comfort, a reminder of peace. Even in the dark, now and then a servant slips in, kneels for a moment, bows head, then departs quietly, footsteps fading into the night. The chapel never sleeps entirely, for faith does not keep to hours. As the night deepens, the air cools, the torches burn lower, dreams spread through the chambers. Children dream of games, servants dream of rest, guards dream of warmth, nobles dream of hunts or journeys. The castle breathes with them, its stones holding their quiet, its walls wrapping them in safety. And yet, the night is not only stillness, it is also a time of wonder. Look up at the sky from the battlements. Stars glitter sharp and countless, the moon silver upon the moat. The towers rise dark against the heavens, their shapes solemn, their lines proud. The world is hushed, yet the beauty is vast, filling the heart with awe. A guard pauses, his breath rising white, his eyes fixed upon the constellations. For a moment, he forgets cold and duty, and feels only the immensity of the night. So the castle passes its hours until dawn. The horn will sound, the gates will creak open, the courtyard will stir once more. But for now, it rests in shadow and flame, in watch and dream, in silence and murmur. The castle at night is not lifeless, but softened, its strength wrapped in stillness, its power tempered by peace. A castle is more than stone. It is a body that breathes, a heart that beats, a rhythm that moves with the turning of the year. Its walls may seem unchanging, its towers unmoving, but within and around it, life flows with the seasons. Spring softens the stones with blossom. Summer heats them with sun. Autumn wraps them in gold, and winter lays them silent beneath frost. To live in a castle, or to live in this circle, to feel the wheel of the year turning steady, shaping every day. Spring. The first hints of spring stir almost unseen. Icicles drip from the eaves. Snow melts into rivulets that run across the courtyard. The moat ripples free of ice. Servants breathe easier as they walk, no longer stamping to keep warm, no longer clutching cloaks tight. The air smells of damp earth and greening things. The garden pushes forth tender shoots, parsley bright and new, onions sending up green tips, violets opening their shy faces. Repairs begin at once, for winter leaves its scars. Masons climb ladders, hammering loose stones back into place, spreading fresh mortar. Carpenters mend broken shutters, replace beams warped by frost. Patch roofs where snow had pressed heavy. The clang of tools echoes across the yard, mingling with bird song newly returned. Children chase one another through puddles, their laughter bright as the season. In the kitchens, spring tastes enter the pot. Nettles are gathered, their sting tamed by boiling, their sharpness welcome after months of salted meat. Eggs are more plentiful, hens clucking proudly in the yard. Milk flows richer, and butter pats are pressed fresh, their color golden. The smell of baking fills the hall again. Bread, eaten warm with soft new cheese. Spring is also the time of hope. Seeds are sown in the fields beyond the walls, oxen pulling the plow through thawed soil. Nobles ride out to hunt, the air cool and fresh, the woods alive with the calls of cuckoos and the rustle of deer. Young squires train with renewed vigor, their wooden swords clattering, their arms strong after the idle winter. The castle breathes with energy, its stones warmed by longer light, its people lifting their faces to the sun. Summer. Summer falls bright and heavy. The stones of the courtyard grow warm beneath bare feet. The walls shimmer in heat, the air thick with buzzing flies. The moat smells of green water and reeds, dragonflies darting quick as sparks above its surface. Sunlight pours through the narrow windows, dust motes dancing in its beams. Life grows busier. Fields outside the walls wave with tall grain. They're green, turning slowly to gold. Within, the kitchen bustles with herbs hung in bunches to dry. Sage, thyme, mint, rosemary, filling the air with fragrance. Fruit ripens, cherries red as jewels, plums heavy on branches, berries dark and sweet. Children's lips stain purple, their laughter carrying as they sneak handfuls from baskets. The courtyard rings with training. Knates ride in armor, the sun glinting painfully from helms and mail. Horses sweat, their breath hot, their coats gleaming with foam. Squires stumble with shields too heavy, their faces red, their brows damp. Archers practice in the fields, the twang of bows sharp, arrows whistling and thudding into targets. Sweet and effort fill the air, but also pride. Feasts spill outward in summer. Tables are carried into courtyards where music rings beneath the open sky. Torches blaze as darkness falls late. Moths circling their flames, stars bright above. Ale flows, laughter echoes, dogs bark for scraps. Minstrels sing of heroes and lovers, their voices rising with the warm night air. Children chase one another across flagstones, while elders talk softly beneath the eaves. Summer nights stretch long, filled with firelight, voices, and joy. Yet summer carries hardship too. Heat stifles the chambers, flies swarm about kitchens, water grows stale. Guards upon the walls squint against sun, sweat running beneath their helms. Work grows harder in heat, tempers flare, patience shortens. Yet the rhythm continues, for the castle cannot rest. Autumn arrives with crisp mornings, with mist rising from the moat, with leaves falling golden across the courtyard. The air smells of apples, of wood smoke, of damp earth. Fields outside swell with grain ready for harvest, and carts roll steadily through the gates. Piled high with sheaves, wheels creaking under weight, servants carry baskets of fruit and nuts, their cloaks patched, but their eyes bright with relief. The barns and storehouses fill, sacks stacked high, barrels rolled into place. In the kitchen, autumn is bounty. Geese are slaughtered, their feathers flying, their meat salted for winter. Apples are stewed into sauces, pears baked into pies. Onions, carrots, and turnips are heaped in piles, stored in cool places for the months ahead. The air grows rich with the smell of stewing, of baking, of spice cider warming over the fire. The hall fills with feasts of plenty, laughter echoing against stone, goblets lifted in thanks. Autumn is also time for hunts. Lords ride into woods bright with color, dogs baying, horns echoing. Deer are brought down, boars felled, hares chased across the fields. The meat fills the larders, the hides are tanned, the horns polished. Autumn's hunt is not only for sport, but for stores, for survival through winter. The courtyard bustles with preparation. Wood is chopped, stacked high, filling sheds with fuel for the cold. Roofs are checked, shutters fastened, cracks in walls repaired. Servants hurry, for every task left undone will weigh heavily when snow falls. Children gather chestnuts, their hands sticky, their laughter bright. The castle breathes faster in autumn. Its people working with urgency, its walls resonant with the energy of harvest. Then comes winter. The air bites, frost silvers every stone. The moat lies rimmed with ice. Snow drifts against the walls, crunching beneath boots, muffling every sound. The courtyard grows quieter, its bustle muted, its voices softer. Smoke rises thick from chimneys, a sign of life hidden within. Inside, the hall glows brighter than ever. The great fire roars, sparks flying upward, logs stacked deep. People gather close, their cloaks heavy, their hands stretched to warmth. Rushes are replaced with evergreen boughs, their scent sharp and sweet. Candles burn long into the night, their flames flickering upon walls. Winter is hardship, but it is also closeness. Meals grow simpler, drawn from stores. Salted meats, dried beans, hard cheese, apples wrinkled but still sweet. Yet feasts are still held. Christmas brings a Yule log, spiced wine, music, greenery hung bright. Laughter rings even against the cold. Joy found amid the frost. Children press close to hear stories, their faces lit by firelight, their dreams filled with warmth. Gods still pace the walls, their cloaks wrapped, their breath steaming. The night watch is harshest now. But the castle must not sleep. They stamp their feet, clap their hands, sing to keep warm. Torches sputter, snow drifts upon the battlements, stars shine cold above. Yet the duty holds, as steady in winter as in summer. Winter slows life, but does not still it. Embroidery spreads across women's laps. Songs are sung by hearth. Games are played with dice or boards. Stories told long into the night. The castle draws inward. Wrapped close, its heart glowing against the cold. Through all these seasons, the castle lives. Its stones seem unchanging, yet they too feel the sun's warmth, the frost's bite, the touch of rain. Its people move with the year, their tasks rising and falling with sowing, harvest, feast and fast. Spring brings hope, summer labor, autumn bounty, winter rest. Together they make the circle, turning ever on. Pause here with me and breathe the year. Smell the violets of spring, the hay of summer, the apples of autumn, the pine of winter. Hear the cuckoo's call, the buzz of flies, the crack of harvest carts, the hush of falling snow. Feel the sun warm upon your face, the dust cling to your hands, the crispness of autumn air, the sting of frost. The castle is not only stone. It is a living part of the turning world, bound into the same circle as field and forest, sky and earth. And as the seasons pass, as years turn to years, the castle endures. Its people are born, live, and die within it. But the stones remain, carrying the memory of countless springs, summers, autumns, and winters. To stand within its walls is to stand in the flow of time itself, steady and unbroken, like the circle of the year.